As adults, few of us remember, recognize, acknowledge, understand privately, much less publicly, who we are as creative, powerful, eternal, spiritual beings. And therefore, we do not reflect our magnificence back to our beautiful children or other children with whom we come into contact on a regular basis. Despite often well-meaning and loving intentions that many of our parents had, and many parents around the world have today, instead of children observing, and most importantly, feeling wholeness, personal truth, authenticity, self-love, and presence, they instead, what is reflected back to them is a diminished version of the well-being of the parent or the adults in their life, and therefore a diminished version of the well-being that is actually possible for them. The most important step in elevating the consciousness of any family is the parents choosing out loud to go down a path of self-realization, to heal old wounds, uncover hidden beliefs, feel denied emotions, and allow joyful self-expression so they can become a clear mirror for their beloved children. As parents become more comfortable within their own skin, they simultaneously will give their children permission to do the same. There is no greater gift, in my opinion, that we can offer our children than our own liberation. A deeper intimacy with our own soul, the largest perspective of who we really are, will change our world. This is front-end work rather than back-end work that will go a long way, make a huge difference into solving much of the dysfunction, the bullying, the stress, the anger, and even as we see on the streets of our own beloved Chicago, the absolute despair that we see in so many corners of our society today. The call in this century is for parents from all religious, economic, cultural, and social backgrounds to begin to integrate a new perspective, a universal soul perspective into our beloved families, thereby raising the consciousness in our schools, in our homes, in our workplaces, and in the world at large. We are longing for our own soul. And we as parents, especially, I'll put on all of us in this room who know, who remember, it's time for us to really infuse this soul-to-soul perspective into all that we do. I share my perspective only as a fellow spiritual journeyman. I share my experience. I'm not a data girl. I don't have a big PowerPoint for you. Those all speak to the mind and can be very valuable. Really, the only thing that I can offer you is to stand before you and speak from my soul, from my heart, and that's based on feeling. And that's the type of mother that I am in my own home as well. Yes, along with a lot of silliness, a lot of dancing, the two go hand in hand, but that type of relationship. My spiritual growth path, we all kind of have the catalyst, you all sitting in this room, I'm sure, began when I was 19 and my parents went through a very difficult divorce. I'd always been a deep and reflective child, probably no surprise there, but that's when I really was cracked open. And my father gave me 2 books that were kind of outside of the box, Living in the Light by Shakti Gawain and A Bridge Across Forever by Richard Bach. And I remember sobbing. Those books resonated so deeply with me, and I'd never had that type of language used before. And that began my personal journey through my own interior. Then I began teaching in Evanston, Illinois, 4th and 5th grade. Loved it, loved teaching. I'm a teacher by nature. It comes very naturally to me, and yet, I always wanted to go a little bit deeper. In a public school, you can't quite use that language. So I tried to offer self-love and oneness in the ways that I could, within the limits of what was expected of me, of course. Then I had my own children, and when they were 4, 7, and 8, I was a stay-at-home mom. I woke up one day, and it just became crystal clear, a voice, Annie, don't wait. You're doing all of this wonderful self-exploration. You're being just set free by reading Neil Donald Walsh and in a Conversations with God study group for 3 years, and all that I was getting from it. I was making my own personal visual cues, but it became really clear to me, offer it to the children now. Bring them in. Of course, when they were babies, I used to rock them and whisper, you beautiful soul who is in our care. That was spoken, but this I'm talking about a really conscious, how am I going to bring it into the home, really purposely, and not rely on someone else to do it. Not Sunday school, not a teacher. No, it's Annie, it's Jim. How can I be a spiritual leader in our own family? Our children are now 16, 15 tomorrow, and 12. And I have to say, so far from a perfect family. It's ongoing work, just like it is for me. The healing, you think you're done? Not quite done. So it's ongoing, but I have to say, we are beginning to see some of the fruits of the groundwork that we've laid. This is kind of about laying that groundwork. They're only in our nest for a certain number of years. That became very clear too. And so for my husband and for me, quite frankly, yes, we care about their education. My husband teaches at New Trier High School. They do extracurricular sports or music, but in my heart of hearts, I know that when they are 25, they have the capacity to listen to the voice of their own soul. They have the capacity to bring soul to soul into their workplace and into the world. They are whole individuals, comfortable in their own skin. Then I will have done my job as a parent. So this is not a traditional parenting talk on changing behavior, not at all. It's much more about a shift in core belief with the parent going first and offering the pieces as the parent grows. So it's simultaneous spiritual development for both parent and child. Wouldn't it be interesting if the adults in our lives, in our children's lives, became clear mirrors? If the CEO, the plumber that walks into your house, the barista at Starbucks, their teacher, their doctor, was actually a clear mirror of wholeness, where would our world be then? I think, again, we try and stay kind of on the surface of our issues. When we need more clear mirrors, we need a lot more clear mirrors for our youth. Then we start to see the huge possibility that the human species really has here, I believe. So what I know for sure, and what I hope shines through this talk, I'm 42, and I know that I am spirit embodied. And I know, without a doubt, that direct divine connection is my birthright. This is the legacy that I desire to leave for my children. The following soul-to-soul reminders that we are going to discuss are the basis of soul-to-soul parenting. In my book, when I was writing it, it poured out. I had no idea what a book proposal was, actually. All of that has been a huge learning curve for me, but it poured out in the sense that this is what we do in our own family. I broke it down into 15 major spiritual themes, just our themes. I'm sure you would have your own, and then 22 vehicles of how you would do it. So that's, the work is meant to be both practical and esoteric in a sense. But part of it was becoming really clear, what do we want to offer our children? An understanding of oneness and individuation, an understanding of connectedness and boundaries, an understanding of self-love, getting really clear on what it is you want to be circling back to with your children as they come in the house on a Monday and they have an issue with a friend. Have you discussed multiple perspectives sharing the same space? Do you have the language for that? That's really what the work is about.